Woohoo! All right, my friends, we are live again for another exciting episode of Talk Power BI. We hang out here every Friday, but this Friday is special. We have a special guest here today with a very special topic. Now, wait. Okay, we have a feedback from somebody coming in. I'm gonna mute. Okay, so folks, I would say go on mute unless you're talking. Um, so, folks, our guest today is Manuel Fuentes, and I've met Manuel. I don't know. I've known him for a while. Definitely feels like a long time, and I have seen him progress through his Power BI journey, and I've seen him lead his company into the Power BI journey as well. Now, although he's usually very humble about it. He's like, no, Avi, we're not. We're just. But when I look at
We're introducing it.
when I look at all of the other students and all the other companies that I work with, what Manuel has achieved is really phenomenal progress. Hey, folks, so we're getting feedback from some of you. So again, if you're on the phone, just mute yourself. I keep losing my train of thought. So he's made tremendous progress, and I can see that. But here's what you're going to find different about this session. Now, I've been to my share of conferences, Power BI, and even before that. And often the experience there is you see somebody up on stage and you're like, whoa, oh, they can do that? Oh, wow, they did that. And I don't want anybody to feel that way. Our channel is not about that. We talk about real Power BI. So what I'm expecting from Manuel is, he's just going to be kind of real in front. Now, he has made amazing progress. So whatever he says about the progress he's made, you guys can clearly multiply that by 10 in your mind, because he's going to be his humble self. So he's going to say, yeah, we're doing this, but he's going to have a lot of but statements, but that's okay. So multiplied by 10, that's the impact he has had, and certainly I can see that looking at other folks. But he's also going to be totally real and upfront about what the journey has been like, and because we don't want you to feel like, oh, look, they can do this. No. What I want you to think is, look, I can do this. We can do this. All right, Manuel. So give me a moment. We'll check in with the YouTube folks and say hello, and then I'll hand it over to you. So we have a lot of you online. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. We hang out here every Friday, so that's great. And what I would say is do type in where you're watching us from. I love seeing that. Sergio says hello, has a question as well. We'll definitely stay back for your questions. I will. Danny is here from Greensboro, Georgia. Tibiru. Oh, Tibiru is. Oh gosh, I probably messed your name. So of course, Tibiru. I'm not gonna try to say it. We spoke the other day. Your inner family, Tibiru. I think that was it. Sergio says hello from Spain. Loretta Sue is here. We were just talking earlier. Jen Abel, good to see you here. Hey, I sent you an email. Hopefully you can take a look when you get a chance. Heather says hi. Jean says hello from San Francisco. Pedro, a lot of familiar faces, folks. Good to see you here. Danny likes Manuel's t-shirt. And the t-shirt says, bringing your data to life. Isn't that cool, guys? Sean says hi from Cali. Anil says hi from California. Chicago in the house. June is here. Good to have you here, June. And Warren says hello from Saskatoon, Canada. Awesome. All right, Manuel. So, I think we're ready to kick it off. But definitely, so I'm going to make you presenter. Are you already presenter? Go ahead and present. Oh, I'll make presenter. There we go. So Manuel is gonna share his screen and dive into it. But Manuel, do start off with telling everybody a bit more about yourself, your company, and your team, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, it's basically all in the PowerPoint that I
Perfect.
have
Yeah.
presented a few times before. But I have a background in pricing. That's how I specialized in. But my journey with Power BI is definitely quite a journey, because for basically all my adult life or all my career I worked in Excel. and
Mm-hmm.
not even in Power Pivot, just Excel and maybe some Access. And then, Power BI has changed my life. So, and then what Label Master is in the PowerPoint. Should I just
Yeah,
start?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But
Perfect. All right. So, when I presented this before, in 30 minutes or less, I kind of rushed through, but maybe I don't have to rush it through this time. And
not at
we
all.
can
We want to
see
hear
some of the data
your full
models,
story.
or maybe the desktop, which I have prepared as well. So what I want to do is cover our organization, who is Label Master, and
Hmm.
then the role the business and marketing analytics plays for our company,
Yeah.
and then basically share as much as we can.
Yeah, great.
So we
I'll just repeat one line that he said. Hey Manuel, is there feedback? Okay, maybe I'll try to be quiet. There's some feedback that coming in maybe when I speak, but I'm gonna say the line that Manuel said just a minute ago. Power BI changed my life, and folks,
yeah.
I love hearing that, and it never loses charm because that's the strength of this tool. All right, Manuel, keep going. Awesome.
All right. So we're a mid-sized company, and we specialize in hazmat or in dangerous goods. And our goal is to help companies basically simplify the complicated rules and regulations, the ever-changing, rules and regulation of moving hazmat, DGs, dangerous goods, safely and compliantly across the globe, right? And it's pretty amazing to see how many companies basically ship out dangerous goods. And just a little marketing spiel here. 76% of the Fortune 100 companies actually buy from Label Master. A lot of industries, we do labels, we do placards, we do placarding systems, and then we also have books. So we are a North American leader, actually the North American leader with IATA, the International Air Transport Association. And we also have a software to basically check, through these regulations, and then a consulting team as well that offers, consulting and training. And if you think about dangerous goods, you might think about, radioactive shipments. I think Avi got the title from this slide here. But dangerous goods or hazmat is so much more. And I don't need to go through every single product, but I was amazed that even hand sanitizer right here is a dangerous good. So a lot of companies ship dangerous goods, and that's why we have such a good footprint in this market. So highly niche, and yeah, Power BI has really helped us. Some of the products here, explosives, labels, or like the placards that go, Space Master product that go on these trucks, for example, that you might see on the highway or on the freeways, and some UN numbers, chemical numbers. So yeah, let's dive into, I guess, the infrastructure. We are a Microsoft shop. Our ERP system is Microsoft Dynamics Nav, and it integrates really nicely into Power BI, or I guess Power BI can integrate in a pretty much everything. So that's our ERP system, and then Salesforce is our CRM system. And what we have as enrichment is ZoomInfo and Discover.org data that lives in Salesforce. And for a medium-sized company, our pricing, or our pricing is actually quite complex. We have over 30,000 customers. We had over 270 contacts before the cleanup, and so on. And then we have over 30,000 products that we sell. So pricing wise, the number of price points, you can imagine that gets a little bit complex. And then, we also have internet, and then, Google Analytics, integration. And then this is one of my favorite slides. Basically convincing the leadership of what BI tool to choose, and this is the latest and greatest Gartner report here. For us, it has worked really really well in the integrating. It's the price, I guess you can't really beat it either, and it's good to see that we made the right choice.
It's beautiful.
All right. The challenges, right? As you can imagine, coming from an Excel, maybe Access, limited SQL world, what's our role? Um, our role is to lead the business growth, challenging the analytics team, not just to be data reporters, not just to execute, I guess, reports, but to use the data to grow, be a business influencer. And we're doing some good stuff here, customer segmentation, targeting. We spend a day with Avi. He helped us with the dynamic tiers, um, customer segmentation and targeting tool. It's been good, and we want to get into predictive. So as I said, the tools we had are, basically Excel and Access, and we want to switch to Power BI, and
Nice.
all these great benefits of Power BI, getting to self-service, right? We want to answer the question faster. It integrates well, and our goal is, no more than 3 clicks and get to the answer. But I guess not only to the answer, but to the root cause. And adoption has been really good. The center of excellence journey. This is where we want to maybe get in 2020, 2021 plus, a little bit more predictive modeling. And Power BI, I think, can help us. So how did we gain acceptance, and what was the first project? And I think the first project was really this daily sales report, which I can show at least one tab or one page of. And it's basically a standard recap of the previous day's sales versus the budget versus the plan, right? And it's viewed by basically everybody in the organization, and it hasn't really changed in over 30 years. And it's a stable and trusted resource. So the goal was to duplicate this, but throw in all the enhancements that Power BI has. And it was basically an refreshable Excel jet report, which looked like this. You have your product lines, like, we do labels, we do placards, packaging solutions, we do books. It
Nice.
has some month to date, total month, total year, average sales, and some incoming order statistics. So you can see how are we doing, right, each day. And then the final product basically looks like this. It's the same or a similar grid here that compares our product lines, versus the key metrics. But it also, now on top right here, you can see you can switch between sales and standard margins. It has the accumulation, flat or daily versus the month to date versus year to date. You don't need to refresh the the Excel report anymore. You can just go back in days, and then it basically has the in this case, is this daily? I think this is daily, but the budget is accumulating too. So and then it has all the drill down and the drill through functionality that Power BI offers to all these different tabs. So yeah, exactly. So one right click, drill through, and then see who the major customers are, right? I mean, we included a map in here. Um, and it's dynamic. So I think acceptance wise, instead of having to run, another Excel report and then another, maybe refreshable Excel report. I mean, it's, at least the sales detail is right at your fingertips. And I could actually now switch to the data model and see would that be okay, Avi? Or
Yeah, go for it.
and if you look at the so this one is the open orders tab. I've kind of sanitized it a little bit. Um, I mean it's
Nice.
dynamic. It shows you out of stock. It shows you past due. Um, um, so I cannot click on
Okay.
on
Yeah.
these tabs here.
All right. That's
But what
good.
I
We
can
get it.
do is I can click on the data model, and I think Sam did a fantastic job with this data model. Just applying some of the best practices that you talk about, right? I mean, it's basically three tables, as you might expect from your course, right? You have an open sales report, you have
Mm-hmm.
the sales. We call this table
Mm-hmm.
or this query, right? The combined sales, and we have the daily budget. And
Yeah.
look at this one to many relationships, right? All these lovely lookup tables. We obviously have an item table,
Yeah.
LM nav, label master nav, item table. We have a customer info table, I
Beautiful.
guess, enriched with some Salesforce, account data. We have the ultimate calendar table, and then, some departments. And then right here, some key measures that we need in the data model, and then switching back and forth, right? This metric selection, selected metric.
Yeah.
So
Manuel,
it's
I'm just cracking up because I think a lot of people have seen them use the ultimate calendar table. I don't think I've ever seen somebody actually call it that in the model. They usually just call it calendar.
right.
Yeah, I was like, no, no, no. This is the ultimate calendar. So I'm finding it hilarious. All right, man, keep going. This is awesome. This is good stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, I think again, data or talking data model, or taking talking tables. We are still at the pretty beginning of the journey, but your course has really helped us to simplify things, right? Instead of having these
Yeah,
multi-directional, confusing relationships, keep it simple, right? The KISS principle,
yeah,
and then get from there, right? The one to many's, and you can achieve especially for a company that was on Excel and Access, you can achieve pretty good stuff, right?
yeah. Boy, so I've been like writing down stuff. So do you have more in your presentation? Uh, do you have something more that you're gonna get back to, or because I'm
What I do have is I have more examples. Yeah.
yeah, let's walk through some of that because I've loved
Okay.
all the stuff you've shared so far. So if there's more, yeah, let's go cover that. And I've been writing down
Perfect.
questions. And folks on the phone, if you have questions for Manuel, do line them up as well. I'm going to look at that in a second. Mm,
Okay. I mean, this is the data model, or actually the Power BI desktop version that I would be able to share.
okay.
Um,
Do you have more in
and we
your
could.
presentation, in your PowerPoint presentation? I just want to make sure we went through that.
Yes.
Okay, let's.
Perfect. Okay.
Oh yeah, let's continue there.
So actually, yesterday we just had a call with you, right, Avi,
Yeah.
on the pro level, and we talked about new, existing, or new, growing, decreasing, lost customers, and I think you got us 50 or even 80% there with the rate, especially the lost customers. I think the problem we ran into, we didn't want to define a lost customers as somebody who hasn't purchased in 12 months or so, or in a specific time period. What we wanted to do is look at a lost customer, based on the customer specific,
Y- y-
let's call it frequency, right? Or let's
yeah.
call it average, right? So
Yeah.
you,
Jen, hey, good to see you here. So folks, let's just pause there for a second. So what Manuel is talking about here, I'm gonna kind of generalize it, which I see all the time, which is you're doing something which you can definitely Google, and believe me, these guys, we all. Hey, I use that all the time when I'm stuck with something, right? So, new customer, lost customer, you'd find a lot of material out there, but then you find a lot of answers, just not yours. because your situation is slightly different and you kind of stuck spinning wheels. Now, of course, I've recognized this for a long, long time. And that's why the program that we have is kind of shaped around that. So we focus on that. So the scenario that Manuel has is, and of course, that's why I love kind of real data, working with real business scenarios, because it's completely valid. So think about it. Instead of saying, "Oh, it's a lost customer if they didn't come to our site in 3 months or didn't buy in X number of months,"
Right.
what if in your business customers had specific buying patterns? And believe it or not, Manuel, I had worked with a greeting card company in Seattle. They were one of my first clients, and I really enjoyed working with them. But when you were talking to you reminded me of them because they also had the buying patterns. So it's like, no, 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 this store orders every month, but that other store orders every 3 months, and that's how the business is set up. So how can you kind of generalize? Or and this store they only order Valentine's Day cards. That's it. That's all they come in for. So we only see them once a year. So for that customer, it's okay if we don't see them for 9 months because we know we're gonna get them see 1 year. So that was the problem we've been focusing on. But again, folks, it's not what you start with. They started off with, which is pretty standard. And I loved your approach, Manuel. By the way, when you said that we wanted to replace it with enhancements. Man, that's brilliant.
Right.
That's usually what I do as well because you don't want to rock their world. You take somebody who's been living in Excel tables and you show them like this glitzy dashboard. They're like, whoa, So you can say, hey, here's your table, right? Deep breathing. You got your table, and oh, here's something more. So that's awesome. All right, mate. Take us through the rest of the slideshow. I don't want to miss out on
Okay.
anything here.
Perfect. Okay, so the second example here is the forecasting spreadsheet. Um, you know, I guess before you had the ridiculous, everything in Excel, and this one was actually a simplified version. And I mean, Power
Yeah.
BI makes it so easy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, here is an example of a cyclical. I think this is probably a book that comes out every year or so, and then Power BI can forecast. The only drawback here, and let's be real, is this is a line chart, and ideally, we would love to see these numbers. If anybody can help us, with this, I would love to have it in Excel, exported, but these numbers here, the forecasting numbers, they actually don't show up. So that's the only drawback.
Cool. I wrote that down. Keep going.
Perfect. Keep going. All right, this one was actually a real life example as well. So as you can imagine, with the tariffs and whatnot, right? Our costs are going up, so we basically needed to do a price increase or a cost adjustment to customers, and we hadn't done this in a while, I guess, and with our very complicated pricing approach, we needed to give the sellers the confidence, and get them a self-serve BI tool that they can basically see what for themselves what the impact would be of the price increase by SKU or by department level or by product line. And the solution we came up with, this is obviously not such an important customer, sanitized, is they could go and self-service themselves, right? For any customer at a glance, at their fingertips, and drill through to the SKU or the item level price detail. And then, this was actually more complicated than it looks like, but here's the proposed price increase. This would be the new spend with our company, and some cards here that would show the average impact. And worked out fantastic.
Boy, I'm gonna pause here. So, folks, you realize that this is the strength of Power BI. Fine, the power of Power BI is that in the old world, if you had something like this going on, a price increase, big event, kind of awkward event. Now, of course, one thing it lets you do is to lean into that conversation, just have that open conversation. And it's like, yes, hey, we're doing this. We realize it's going to have an impact. We understand that these are the reasons why we're doing it. This is the impact you're going to have. You're still a valuable partner, and we believe we can have build a business together, something like that, right? But often in the old world, it would be complicated enough that you would only be able to do it with your top customers. But you realize how
Exactly.
this democratizes it. So, folks, I will say that I've used this word quite a few times, because I don't know, somehow Power BI, in so many ways, it levels the playing field. For one, it levels the playing field in like connecting to data sources, like right. So in here, it doesn't matter if you're a small customer or a big customer. So I was talking to a service provider in our industry. I was looking to hire them, and I said that, hey, I'm a small fish. I'm a small business. Would I get your attention? And he had such a beautiful answer. And he said, Avi, it doesn't matter if you're small or you're big, right? The quality that you get from me, why would we compromise? Why would you have to compromise on quality just because you're not a big customer? So, but of course, in practice, that was hard to do. But with Power BI, no, you can. This would be available for a small customer who's spending a few $1,000s to somebody who's spending hundreds of $1,000s. So brilliant, mate. Keep going. This was good stuff.
Really. And I think really without the help of Power BI and this particular tool here, the price increase impact report or whatever we call this, right? I
Yeah.
don't think we would have been able to do the price increase.
Oh
So,
boy! Wow,
you know,
boy, that's a hammer. And of course you can extrapolate that. If now clearly that thing was at the top of mind for people, but how many other decisions are simply skipped, not considered? And I've seen this enough times in Microsoft, because people are conditioned, like, nope, nope, we tried that, and it didn't work. But oh gosh, wow, that's powerful. Awesome,
yeah.
awesome, mate. Keep going. Boy.
All right. Customer repurchasing dashboard. I think we touched upon this a little bit earlier. Each customer has a unique buying pattern, right? The cycles, right, of repurchasing. And I think this is a great tool for the sellers. The situation is customers have many locations, for which the sales teams are responsible, and it's difficult to sift through like the typical spreadsheet, right? These
Mm-hmm.
jet Excel reports, and the goal is to basically just have a simple, engaging dashboard. The locations that may be lapsing, the locations that might be due, right, to buy again from us. That have lost us, a few purchasing cycles, and basically help the sellers to sell more. And it has become a really intuitive opportunity reports, not just for the sellers but also for sales and marketing. And this is
Yeah.
basically a little bit cleaned up and sanitized. You just see the customer number here, but you see the address. That's, I think, a concatenated field. You see the most recent purchase dates. You see the days since the last purchase, the average time, right, between the purchases, and then the periods overdue. So at a
Oh.
glance, for each customer, I guess, or for each location, it depends if a customer is covered or not covered. So if it's covered by a seller, or if it's not
Mm-hmm.
covered, then sales and marketing can go through this report and basically target the customers. I talked about 1, 2, 3 clicks action. With marketing, we have a little bit of a revised report just on the customer level. But if a customer, lost like the 2, 3, 4 purchase cycles, marketing will have campaigns, and we're basically just starting a campaign to win them back, or to remind them that with the pricing offers, right, some promotional offers, and I think this is working out quite nicely.
That's great.
And
Hey.
especially for the sellers, I call this a little bit semi-predictive. Um, here's what the seller, if they drill through, look at. They look at the locations, they look at the
Mm-hmm.
the, I guess, the trend here, right? And here are the and who hasn't bought, right, for that specific location, right? Here the order placer, here's the phone number, here's the email,
Nice.
two click action, right? Look at the items, look at the periods overdue. I mean, it's all the ammunition, as I call it, at your fingertips.
Brilliant.
And data model wise, I mean, you've seen it. It's really not that complicated, right? We have it's yeah, it's the power of Power BI. All right, let me speed up a little bit. Current BI examples. Um, Let me go through some of them. My background is in pricing, so you know, um, at previous companies, you always want to benchmark, right? I mean, is the price you're giving out a good price, a bad price? What's the floor? What's the ceiling? What are other customers paying, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and this is basically just using the sales, or combined sales table. This is visually very appealing, right? Like, what's the price of your customer? Like, if you are right here,
Yeah.
we obviously have a problem, right?
So actually, can you go back to that? I love this one. So on the y-axis is the sale price, and obviously you talked about the pricing structure, and you offer different prices, different. So you have the average sale price, so that makes sense. So, but that's the price, and then on the x-axis the quantity. So on the far right there, the gray dot. I mean, those are your biggest sellers, right? These are the products that everybody would know, right, in the company. That yep, we sell most of that. And then I see this cluster below that line, which it doesn't sell that much, but it still sells well. So you see the back, which is kind of separated from the rest, but still below the line. So I noticed that, and then of course the general aggregation. So man, this is yeah, I agree with you. I mean, visually, this is so
Mm.
powerful. Cool. I know you have more on this, so keep going. But yeah, I love this one.
Yeah, and I mean, this is really not. This is, I mean, it's not hard to do.
Exactly.
If you are from if you come from a pricing background or an analytics background or a marketing background, um, I call this the four pricing quadrants on a customer level. Like, what value does your customer provide to you? And it's just a simple matrix, right? Customer profit, customer revenue. If your customer revenue is low and your customer profit is low, I mean, strategically, you need to move them. There's something
Mm-hmm.
to be said. The ideal state, retain at any cost here, is if the customer revenue is high and the profit is high. What do you want to do if the customer revenue is low but the customer profit is high? You want to cross sell, yeah? You want to sell more, you want to upsell, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So on a customer level, so the previous example was on an item level, to benchmark the pricing of items. This is on a customer level, and
Wow.
it's kind of a little bit of a gimmick here, but for the sales leadership, this is a very useful report, for the national account managers, for example, to just look at their portfolio. What is each customer doing? And if you click on the play axis, you can see how this customer moved,
Wow.
through these different quadrants over time. I mean, I call it a
Unbelievable.
gimmick, but I mean, why not? It's powerful. So this customer started out at the what are we gonna do with this customer? Right? This customer needs to move. Guess what? It moved. The revenue up, and then all of a sudden, the
Yeah.
the margin improved, at less revenue, but let's see
Mm-hmm.
what 2019 is doing. Hopefully we're getting into the right quadrant here, right? And offering some more products for cross selling. So, in my opinion, why wouldn't you use it, right?
Brilliant. Love it. S-
Yeah.
So I just had this thought, guys. So this is yeah, this is really powerful. So the idea you're saying is that benchmarking is kind of powerful, right? And of course, so you benchmark kind of your products that, hey, which are, and I love the idea of quadrants. I've used that in a while. And of course, maybe you already do. You didn't show it in here, but maybe you also, and if you don't, obviously people can, where they put their products in a quadrant as well. That these are kind of high revenue, high quantity products, something like that,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then make a decision that how you want to move things. Now, of course, sometimes it would yeah, cool. So I think just seeing that visually and all, then deciding what you need to do, and not just that, but as you take action. That's what I love about Power BI, because when I was in Microsoft, they would often take a lot of decisions, but you had to wait an year sometimes to see if it was working or not. Like, oh, we're gonna start doing this, and a year later, they would say, oh yeah, that didn't really work. But now you can almost instantaneously just track the progress and see how things are moving. That's great. Awesome.
Well, Um, this one in the Analytics Leaders Network here in Chicago, I presented as maybe this is something what we should not do because it's kind of confusing. But we thought it looked so cool. This is the network navigator. I think this is a custom. Yeah, it's a custom visual. I think we introduced that last year. And if we think about product market basket or also cross-selling opportunities, we can see what so the dots here, that's items, and then the gray dots, that's customers, and then the lines is either volume or sales or frequency. um, how many invoices or how many orders we have. But you can see pretty much how things are connected, right? How the where there is cross-selling opportunity. And this came in a little bit handy when we decided we wanted to open a 3PL, to increase or to better our service level agreements, let's say on the West Coast, for example. And which items do we stock at the 3PL? So obviously we don't want to, stock items here at the periphery. We want to stock items that have a chance to be cross-sold, right? So in the spider web here, we want to target the items that are right
Yeah.
that are in the middle here. And this is just a sample, but it wasn't really, that hard to do, and it's just visually appealing. Now, we've moved off of this, to be honest, and but we have implemented. The customers who also bought items and partner items actually on the website,
Mm-hmm.
with the goal of cross-selling. Now, Jeff actually did this in Access. I guess I shouldn't say this, but that's another project, right? How can
Yeah.
we dynamically, do this in Power BI? And,
Mm-hmm.
I'm super open for suggestions. Um, I'd love to, for all of our products on the website, how can we use Power BI for cross-selling opportunities?
That's great.
So that's actually a real life project.
Awesome, mate.
And not just for one project, because I found resources out there, where you have to click on one project and then you basically get these partner items. But ideally, uh, you know, for all of the products, right? So that
Yeah.
would be awesome. Yeah, and I mean, you can see the value, right? This is actually live on our website. So this one is a Space Master holder. So this is just an aluminum holder, I guess. But then the first item they buy also is like this, 8 legend Space Master flipper, right? Like for all the dangerous goods, oxidizer or flammable or you name it. But then the second item is a label. And then guess what? This is a sign. And then I think here we are back to a label, right? I mean, ideally,
Mm.
the fourth item should be a packaging solution, but we're getting there. It's these baby steps we're taking, but we're getting smarter and smarter and smarter. And I think the targeting and but Power BI is really helping us.
That's awesome.
Okay, strategic customer discount initiative. The the discount distribution by spend. So the dots are, our customers, and as we can see, and then the y-axis here is the discount a customer receives, and then the x-axis is the revenue. What you can see is we have a lot of, it's basically all over the place. We have a lot to do, and this is why we are having the strategic customer discount program in place, where you, Avi, helped us with the dynamic tiering.
Yeah.
And I
So
think I'll get to this later.
that's great. What I'll say is, I've seen this, like, I find that Power BI is like shining a flashlight into sometimes very dark corners, which business hasn't thought about, hasn't looked at, sometimes has no idea, and it just shines this flashlight. And sometimes what you see is not pretty, but I would rather know than not know. so,
Right.
so that's a
I
good thing.
mean, look at one of our best customers here, right? They're receiving a discount that is right here. And then look at all of these outliers. These
Yeah, yeah,
customers, they don't spend enough with us.
yeah,
They are not as sticky as these customers. And I'm
yeah.
sorry, like
Yeah,
right
got
here,
it.
because the
Actually,
discount for
yeah, stay right there. So I'm going to draw something, and you're not going to see it, but the YouTube crowd would notice. So, folks, so on this axis, as Manuel said, this is the percentage discount they got, and this on this axis is the revenue. So generally, if you're generating high revenue, we want to incentivize that. We want to shower you with some love. So the higher the revenue, we want to offer you good discounts. Now, obviously, there's a threshold where we're like, well, but in here, what you see is that the discount, so all of these folks are low revenue. These are low on the scale, and their discount is all over the map. And so it doesn't really work. And that's what Manuel was calling out this one, which is high revenue, but they're middle of the pack. It just doesn't seem fair. But again, just seeing this data gives you that starting point, that benchmark or the baseline. You can get started working on that. And Manuel mentioned that as well. It's all about getting better. I always have this phrase for kind of myself for personal improvement, but it applies to companies as well. Imagine if you, as a person, got better every single day. Where are you going to be in a year from now? And that's how I feel the Power BI journey is and should be as well. Cool. Awesome, mate. Keep going.
Yeah, and this is probably 6 or I don't know. This is maybe an 8 months ago effort. We wanted to do some early customer segmentation efforts, by RFM, recency, frequency, monetary, spend metrics, the average order size, the number of product lines. And what I found so amazing about Power BI is that Power BI has this amazing AI in the background that lets you cluster on the fly. So in this example, we have spend on the x-axis and then the number of invoices, and Power BI will automatically create clusters for you. Now, we didn't use this, but again, it gave you visibility in clicks.
Yeah, that's great.
So now this is actually what we have developed and what Sam has developed, and I'm super proud of him because this is now the customer segmentation efforts that we are actually doing. So we have all the key metrics, spend obviously, but then we have visibility into stickiness factors such as the average number of orders, the average revenue per order, do they buy across, how many locations actually buy, right? Average number of ship to locations. We have, obviously the spend by department, that's our product lines, but then also the spread of customer types. What kind of a customer is it? Is it a labels customer, a placards customer? And then, are they top heavy, right? And so on, right? Like I think we have the last year's metrics in here. So this has really helped. And then the industries, right? Like what industries do they belong into? Obviously the margins, which are important. And then, what's their average
Yeah.
percentage off of list price, and it makes it such. I mean, this makes it really good to play around. And we came up with a nice customer segmentation program with tiers, basically using this tool, this customer segmentation, this dynamic
Yeah.
tiers tool that you helped us with, Avi, and now have customer segments defined. We have tiers defined, and now we are applying the discounts for the new pricing model.
That's terrific. So there's
And
so
as you
many
can
good
see
things here,
here,
guys. But one that is kind of my favorite because for one, it's one of those things which is really hard to do in the old world, really easy to do in Power BI, which is the top-heavy analysis. So if you think about
yeah,
that, if you start looking at your customers and you realize that a lot of them have just this one product which they buy consistently, well, that's a little bit of a risk because what if another competitor comes out and it starts underpricing you for that product? Maybe your customers really switch. So obviously, if they're more varied, if they're not just buying one product but a couple of them, you would still have more of a chance. But again, whether you act on it and how you act on it is going to be decided by the company. But just to have that data, have that information, really empowers the people who are on the front line, and that's of course that's been kind of Manuel's mission, right? To empower those the sales team, marketing team. All right, mate. Good
right.
stuff.
Yeah, and I mean the tab here or the Power BI page that is really impressive is the discount modeling. We have a slicer, you move the discount from X to Y, and here is the impact.
Wow.
It's
It's great.
it's great for every tier, for every customer. Avi, I cannot say enough. You helped us with the money slide and and some of the outlier statistics here, which is actually this tab here or this page here. But you know, we've we've come a long way here. The
Yeah.
thing is, I cannot share this because this is obviously proprietary. And
No,
yeah, for
totally get
T1,
it.
we're almost
No,
finished.
this is already awesome. So, guys, I'll just quickly note, Manuel is of course extremely generous in giving me credit for this, but I was not the one who was kind of staying late night working on these models. I maybe provided some guidance, some help, but yeah, this has been Manuel and his team. Gosh, I do have a question for you. So actually, you know what? I'll ask you right now. So some other folks who are looking at this stuff would already be maybe they would be feeling a bit overwhelmed. It's like, oh, this is crazy. This is not me. So what I want to ask you is that how long was this journey? So clearly you've
Oh,
shown some
long
of this
journey,
stuff.
long journey.
Yeah.
Oh, several months, I would say. Especially, I mean, changing pricing
Wait,
or
wait, wait.
or
Did you say
defining.
several months? Tell me when you guys started with Power BI in earnest. When you said like, "Yep, no, we're doing it," and you kind of picked up steam.
Oh, yeah. So our first dashboard, I think the daily board. I'm not sure actually. I think we introduced this maybe in August or September. I'm not 100%
Okay,
sure.
so
So, so
listen
there
here,
was
guys.
a lot of prep time. So January, February, I started playing around with Power BI, and then I think signed up to your course and maybe in March. And yeah, obviously there's a steep learning curve. But
Wait, but yeah,
I
Manuel,
love your.
dude, you gotta acknowledge what you've done. So wait, you said the first report that you started off with, daily sales report, and you said, "Hey, we're gonna replace it with enhancements." That was August last year.
I think
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
or
Yeah. Let's
maybe
let's go with that
October.
assessment. Okay.
Not
Good.
one hundred
So
percent sure
so
anymore.
guys, less than a year, and I remember being at the last Power BI conference, and I ran into this lady who worked at a top Fortune 50 company, and she shared with me that their company had embarked on a BI project, spent 4 billion. I asked her twice. It was a billion with a B. $4 billion, 3 years of time, zero reports. And in a way, I mean, I did check the billion, but in a way, I wasn't surprised because we've all seen that. And now you're showing us this, started off in August. So, folks, this is absolutely doable. It's not out of reach. Some of it may seem exotic to you right now. Now, I always say there are two ways to compare yourself. One is to beat yourself up, and this can, you can be looking at somebody's Power BI dashboard, or somebody, you can be looking at somebody's fancy car, right? So you can beat yourself up like, oh gosh, no, I can't do this. Why can't I do this? It's taking me so long. Look, he can do it, not me. Something like that. Or you can see it as an example of what is possible. So everybody who's watching, that's how I want you guys to see this. Like, this is what's possible. If Manuel can do it, so can you, my friends. All right, cool. So I know you're in the home stretch. So, and I have all my questions written down. So take us. Let's go through the slides, and I'll start asking you some of the questions that I wrote down.
Great. Data quality or data governance, right? Cleaning up, making sure if we do marketing campaigns, especially direct mail, we have to make sure our data is correct. And Power BI, has now a refreshable report that basically shows us, all of the contacts. And, if you branch through, we've actually gotten rid of some contacts. Now we only have 220,000 contacts. We've purged some, but, it branches out into high value, low value, active contacts, inactive contacts. And the goal is, for especially these high value contacts to clean these contacts and then to move like unverified contacts over into this bucket, into the highly value verified contacts. And as I said, we have third party, enrichment data, which has helped us, and we're actually almost at 30,000 now verified contacts. And it gives us a funnel, and we've involved the sellers and outside companies as well to help us verify some of the contacts in Salesforce. I mean, it's been a journey. It's good.
That's right.
But again, Power BI gives you the visibility, right? And then some feedback we received from the sellers. I don't need to read this.
No, actually, go back. We'll do the short ones. The short ones are most impactful anyway. My favorite was, "This is cool," and it is cool. Yeah. All right, keep going.
All right, cool. But we have a laundry list of next projects, right? The new, growing, decreasing, lost customers. We talked about it. Oh my goodness, web analytics. I think that dashboard. I think we now have a daily board. This PowerPoint is a few months old, but Sam was able to integrate this into Google Analytics. It's amazing. We have a great dashboard that shows you number of visitors and, for all these different channels. And it's great. The DGIS opportunity dashboard for our DGIS software, that actually was well received too. Like on a map, you can see, the physical products like labels and placards and packaging that are bought, but locations that basically do not buy the software, right? We have integration partners as well. So we have a lot to do, and I think Power BI exponentially can help us.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think this is pretty much it. And
oh gosh, so Manuel, I feel so thankful. So folks, let us know. Type in the comments what you thought about the presentation, and of course. Let's thank Manuel for being so generous with sharing this. So Manuel, I want to be this was we kind of got carried away, and of course I had to jump in at the times that I got excited. So I want to ask you really quick: would you be able to stay on? Do you have a cutoff at 10, or do you have a few time?
No, I have time.
Oh, awesome, great. So folks, if you have any questions, line them up as well. I did see positive comments coming in earlier. Okay, so folks, let's hold off on your Power BI questions. I will stay on for those. But if you have any questions for Manuel, put that in the chat box. But I wrote quite a bit down. So for one, if you can go back to that next step slide, folks, I want to call out that this is the journey. In a way, you would realize that your job is never going to be done. So instead of getting that treadmill feeling, you gotta enjoy the journey, and right. So because it's always going to be like this. So right now, for organizations or people who are starting out, you would be taking your first steps, and that would feel like, gosh, that's like, how do I get there? But don't stay so focused on that. You gotta enjoy as you go through that. Um, so you had one question about forecasting, Manuel. So what I thought of that
Yeah.
was that I think you would need to look at R. Now, clearly, I'm not the person to help you with that. I don't know our language, but that's the approach that I have seen, where instead of doing the forecasting, creating it in the visualization, they 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 often use R script inside the query editor. I think that's the right way, and that
Hmm.
way it puts the data. It's going to have all the data points. And of course it's pretty sophisticated. So love that. Can you do you still have the model open? Can you go back to the relationship view?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a question from Paul, which is a good one. So let's take that one. So what lessons were learned when trying to get the senior management buy-in? I know you talked about that a little bit. Maybe dive into that a little bit more.
Now, I mean, I think the most critical is um, to give senior management what they're used to,
Uh
but
huh.
then enhance it. The replication, the duplication of what they're used to. I mean, this company has been around for a long time. The industry we are in is a traditional industry. Um, so,
Mm-hmm.
do not reinvent the wheel here, but build on what is already familiar. And
Yeah.
it's I mean, as this one executive said, I mean, this is cool, right? I mean, clearly show the benefits
Yeah. So
of the
actually,
deal.
yeah, so why don't we do this? So I'm really curious about like how exactly did it happen? Did you build a dashboard and then showed it to like one executive, or did you guys build something and showed it to like a board meeting or something, or some other approach? What events were there, if you can recall?
Perfect. Now, yeah, first of all, build it, right? And then we closely reviewed it, data quality, data sanity checks, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it needs to be exact, right? And then we had actually the director of product management look at it, and then our boss, right? Our
Mm-hmm.
VP. I mean, it probably isn't easy without a sponsor, I mean, he has
Yeah.
helped us. And yeah, and then came the rollout. I mean, basically sharing the report with the execs, and we uh, we were able to showcase. Guess what? The
Yeah.
numbers they match. I mean, obviously it's the same data source, right? I
Uh,
mean,
oh,
it's
that's
math.
yeah, that's great. But details, man, on details. So, how did you share it with exec? Was it an email saying, "Hey, you all have access," or was it in a meeting?
Actually, it was our boss, our sponsor,
Okay,
who shared it and who gave the training. So we gave
nice.
him the training, and then in
Yes.
the executive board meetings, he gave the trainings.
Oh man, you realize what you're sharing is like brilliant, right? If it's somebody who's starting out, like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
passionate about Power BI. I want to first, and I don't know what to do, right? So a lot of people out there like, dude,
right,
I don't know, how do I do it? So kind of what I heard was important to get a sponsor. It doesn't have to be a
right.
manager. Maybe that helps. You can have a close relationship to it, but have somebody kind of in the upper management or something uh, who's like, yeah, really backing you. So convince that one person first. I guess that foot in the door, and then let them do the convincing. That's great. So once they showed that, uh, boy, now I'm really curious as to
Yes,
what was the state of Power BI at that time, because sometimes when people are trying to introduce it, one challenge that they face is there is no licensing, so they can show it in a meeting, but it's
right.
what do you do next? So what was the state, and what happened in the meeting and right after that?
The good news is actually we had two sponsors, right? We had our
Mm.
VP of IT as
Yeah.
well on board. He was actually pushing for Power BI because being a Microsoft job, it obviously integrates quite nicely
Brilliant.
into Microsoft Nav or ERP.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, he gave us the okay to basically get the pro licenses. I think we started out with only 5 or 10, and then it was a gradual rollout. And the marketing team, then product management, and then the sellers.
Brilliant. So at the time when your manager presented it to, kind of the senior level management, did the senior level management all have pro licenses? And what was the next action item? Did you like share the link with them or not quite? Did that happen right there or no? I mean, frankly, sometimes I don't want to send a link to management because sometimes you got to walk them through, right? If you send them a link, nobody's going
Exactly.
to open it.
Exactly.
Nobody's going to open it, right? So you almost got to go there.
Exactly.
And we actually
Exactly.
did that with Microsoft with some executives. I would go there, get their phones from them, install the Power BI app on it or their tablet, and then once it's all set up, then I'll say, hey, yep, tap here, here's the report, something like that. So tell me more about that. So when it was shared, what was the next step? So they showed them a dashboard, but then if somebody said, cool, can I look at it later? What or something like yeah, what was the
VP,
follow up?
so our VP had the pro license, so he was able to share it. I mean, the
Uh-huh.
service, right?
Yeah.
He was able to share it in the board meeting. And I mean, his approach is, if I can do it,
Yeah.
because maybe I'm not so technically savvy, or I'm not a
Mm.
programmer, right? I'm not a coder here. If I can use this, if it's useful to me, and if I get to the answer in 2 3 clicks, you can also do it. And I think this is what really got them on board. So it's the familiar reality, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same
Mm-hmm.
grid basically you were used to for 30 plus years, but then it's the enhancements. Look what the enhancements
Oh
can
man.
do.
Brilliant.
Instead of having to run,
Oh.
5 different Excel reports to get to the answer and wait a half day, you can actually self-service this. You can find the answer yourself, right? And you can build upon it. I mean, it's all integrated. All of a sudden, in pricing, like these low margin reports, right? Exception reports, they are, it's ammunition, right? It's
Oh,
it's what
brilliant.
executives look at.
Brilliant. So Jen said it before me, but I'm feeling the exact same way. So Jen is saying, "Wow, this conversation is helpful for my new role now." So it sounds like that's exactly what she needed. Uh, so great. At that point, they had pro license, and you shared it with them. So Manuel, I think you gave me a sentence for an idea that I've had for a long time. I've often talked about this, where would I say, don't rock their boat, right? And I often say that if
Yes.
they're used
Yes.
to using Excel tables, I just give them that, and then always give the other one as like an afterthought. And I have this thing which sounds funny, but actually works really well, where I almost downplay the visualization. And again, you don't need to do that in all scenarios, but sometimes when I expect heavy resistance, I play the other card where I downplay the visuals. So I give them the tables, and then I say, oh, by the way, it also does some weird graphic stuff, right? I mean, I would totally like downplay it, and I'll say, you can take a look at it. I don't know. I mean, it's just something there, and then I have them look at it. So if I'm not pushing it, then they're more open to it, and then they go in there. Well, obviously, I set their expectations low as well, and then they usually come back saying, whoa, Avi, this is awesome. And then I still downplay it. I say, you really think so? And what that often does, it makes it seem their idea. Now, clearly that wasn't the case in your scenario, but the line that I liked, which you said was, replace with enhancements. Oh boy, I think that's gonna should be the mantra for a lot of people trying to bring in Power BI, introduce Power BI. It's like, yep, replace with enhancements. So one of my close friends, oh gosh, why am I blanking out his name? Reed Havens, of course. So Reed Havens, he's been featured on my channel as well. Amazing Power BI consultant, travels the world over. So he had this line where he said,
I
Avi,
met him in Chicago at the Power BI World
awesome.
Tour.
Yep. He's amazing. He's a fellow Microsoft MVP as well. So he has this line which I always love, which is, Avi, people don't fear change, they fear loss. you got to understand what is it that they're afraid of losing, right? So I mean, sometimes they're afraid of losing the jobs, and that's real, because sometimes you go in there with this Power BI waving that banner, and they're thinking in their heads like, oh my gosh, if there's Power BI there, why would they need me? Now of course that's not true. Now that's not true. We know that, but they may not know that. Cool. So I'll speak a little bit about that. So folks, if any of you do have the anxiety, or you have others who have this anxiety that Power BI is going to take over jobs, hey, can you do me a favor? Bring back the 2019 slide. So I believe that data is this untapped potential. It's this thing which we haven't really focused on, and Power BI, it kind of unleashes this beast. So every story that I've heard in an organization, it's been like this, where you start going in Power BI, and it's not like now, oh, now all the reports are automated, now we have nothing to do. No, it's quite the opposite. Now people get this list of ideas which they never felt was possible. They wouldn't even consider it, but now they can. So it really unlocks this door. So that's the typical, that's frankly everywhere what I've seen, where Power BI unlocks. So guys, there is, for the foreseeable future, machines are not taking our jobs. Yep, there are all TED Talks out there about that. But the foreseeable future, this is an incredible opportunity. And when you start helping organization, your own organization or as a client, you just kind of unlock more of that. Awesome stuff.
And can I make one more comment? So
Yeah.
instead of spending 2 or 5 or however many hours you need to create a report, guess what? This time is better spent in analyzing, making decisions, and having the actionable insights, and then having the actions, right? Doing the actions.
Yep. So hey, that was the story of my life. I mean, I had this title business analyst for such a long time. And if you think about it, you started with that. We said, hey, so for me as a business analyst, my real goal was to make the company money, either find more opportunities for sales or reduce costs or something, improve performance. But that's not what I was doing. I mean, I was a glorified data jockey. I was just cranking out reports. So, and of course, I meet finance folks as well, which are they're highly qualified, highly paid as well, often, but all they're doing is just cranking out these reports. And now, of course, we have an opportunity to change that. I'm just going to glance at the comments really quick. Um, so Heather is saying it's helpful to play up the refresh aspects as well, that work with our CEO. I'm actually surprised by that, so I want to ask Manuel about it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So sometimes what I've seen is this dynamic with senior management, and I felt like most of my life I lived, well, all of my life I lived on what I call the front line. So you're the frontline troop, and you're part of the business, so you're integral to running the business, and well, you often need data. Sometimes you make decisions without data, and then it backfires, and it's not fun. But when you do need data, you go to IT with a begging bowl, and they say, "Yeah, we wrote it down on a list. Check back in 3 months. Maybe we'll have it. Maybe we don't." So you go ahead and scramble something in Excel, just because that's a very flexible tool. But so I often felt that the senior management, they were looking at PowerPoint slides. They don't appreciate what goes in under the hood, like the amount of effort it takes me to create that. And of course, then there would be this dynamic where I would slave away. I would be working at like till 2 a.m. in the night last night to prep this report. I would put it up for them, and they'll say, "Oh, that looks great. What about this?" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" Right? Because this, what about this? The one question that it would take me, like few more days of working long hours. So, but maybe I have too much angst. Maybe I need to let some of that go. So, what was your experience with your management? So sometimes I feel like if you're talking to management, just tell them the visuals. They don't care about the model. They don't really care, understand, appreciate about anything else. Just sell them the visuals. They're gonna like that. And I was like, ooh, oh, all the numbers in one dashboard. Ooh, I like that. When you're talking to the frontline workers, that's when I talk about the benefits, about the data drudgery and all that stuff. I'm wondering, what was the case in your organization?
So now I'm drawing a blank. I just had the answer. Um,
Okay.
And I gotta go back
What,
to,
yeah,
to one of the reports.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, can you pull in this? Can you pull in that? Right? And I mean, it's all about being flexible. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
yeah.
For example, this customer repurchasing dashboard. Right?
Hmm.
It was a back and forth. Which one is it again? It's this one, right? We need locations. We don't need
Hmm.
customer numbers. Is what our sellers say. We know our customers, right? I mean, of course, right? We're dealing with our dozens of customers, that we cover every
Yeah.
day or so, right? We
So,
need more specifics.
so
Okay, so let's pull in the location. Let's pull in,
yeah.
whatever you need.
So let me ask you this way. So, and again, it's no fault of senior management. I mean, they are working at a different level. They're often visionaries. They're looking far out, and you can't. And some people maybe can pull that off, but in general, you can be like really focused on the detail and have a long term vision as well, right? So I realize that they have a different role. So I'm not faulting them for anything, but do you feel like your senior management is kind of, do these discussions come up with senior management where we talk about, oh, the I don't know, the data, even the data quality or the time it takes to run these reports, or not really? Does that get discussed with them? Does that ever come up, you
No,
feel?
that's
Okay,
that's
cool.
not discussed at
Yeah,
all.
that's frankly fair to them. I mean, you don't want to kind of burden them with that, right? I mean, if that, and certainly now with Power BI, if the organization knows the solution, knows how to solve it. Earlier, it used to be, Microsoft, they used it for throw more bodies at it. So, oh, that thing, oh yeah, just make them work longer hours, or and hire somebody. Now, of course, that's not a very good solution. But now we don't have to do that. So now, kind of the frontline troops do have this amazing tool, which helps them be efficient, and management, we can still deliver what they need. Awesome. This is great. Let me see if there are any other questions. Um, all right. So Ricky had some comments. Let's see, to Lindsay. All right, let's skip that. All right, folks. So Manuel, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully, when we talk next time, I wrote more notes. I'm gonna save some of that for our next meeting, my friend. All right, thank you so much for today.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Oh, guys, that was really epic. So hey, I'm gonna hang back and see if you have any Power BI questions. Um, but folks, I will say that that was incredible, and that's the kind of Power BI that I love. The real Power BI. It's not this slick presentation. It's like, oh yeah, look how awesome we are and how much we achieved. It's more about, this is the real journey. And I had warned you in the beginning that Manuel is going to be extremely humble, and whatever he said, you can 10x that. So of course, if you caught it, he did use sometimes phrases like, "We're just starting out." Now, of course, you and I realize that, yeah, this team is not starting out. They've already done some amazing stuff, and I'm glad I asked him the timeline. So, yeah, it was either August of last year or October, and clearly I can see that they've made amazing progress. Now, we were talking about the word democracy, and of course, so for one, I'm going to invite you to the discussion next week. So we've talked about democracy, equality. Where is that thing? Hold on, guys. I'm coming down with the cold. So yes. Oops. Huh. So next week we are. So by the way, the upcoming live stream schedule is buried in our channel. My team is slightly concerned about that, but one way it's easy. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, Control End. If you're a keyboard shortcut guy like me, then let's see. So oops. Then next week we have Women in Power BI. We're gonna have some amazing panelists there talking about this, talking about how Power BI has influenced their life, what they have achieved, the challenges, setbacks they've faced, everything. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. But let's bring it back to the word democracy. So it came up a few times today, and I want to underline that. Right? So So the context that it came up in was, and I can't spell it right, actually it is spelled right, was in customers. So he talked about, I don't know, they had like 220,000 contacts or something, maybe 30,000 customers. I don't remember. But what we were talking about, that a big versus small, earlier in the BP era, right, before Power BI, you could not really serve this segment well. You focused on the big customers. And this was true, certainly true in Microsoft. I worked pretty closely with the sales teams. Yeah, I mean, these guys had assigned contacts and all of this stuff. But now, with the Power BI self-service way, you can serve everybody. If you create a price increase impact report that, hey, we're increasing our prices, here is the impact on you. You just create that once, and you see how it levels the playing field. It's fair, because now even the small customer is going to get access to the same report, because of course, small customers of today are the big customers of tomorrow, right? So that's one. The other dynamic here is in fact, this one is interesting. So you notice here the Manuel's journey. So they started in August or October, right, of 2018, and now we are here in May, so less than a year, and you saw what they accomplished. Contrast this with the 4 billion story. 4 billion spent, 3 years wasted, 0 reports. True story, my friend, right? Now, initially, these big companies, small companies, they didn't really do BI, because BI meant millions of dollars in investment. So we were a small group of 300 people inside Microsoft Learning. And if I remember it right, I think we spent $2 million. That's a million with an M. But still, for a team of 300 people, that's not that big. 2 million? And this was to maintain a BI system, believe it or not. The system was already built, and I don't know, it would have probably cost at least 10 million or more. Right? So it was already built, but it was 2 million just to maintain it, just to keep it running. It's like, oh, the data didn't refresh, this data doesn't look right, can you change this line graph to bar graph, and all of that sort of stuff. It took $2 million. So a lot of small companies, they didn't really do BI. Now, of course, that's not quite true, because what that meant was that their BI with small companies is duct tape and Band-Aid. And you know what that is, right? That is Excel. The most ubiquitous BI tool. So that was Excel. And Excel is a brilliant tool. It's ultimately flexible, but that's also its downfall. It's ultimately flexible because it can do everything. It's not, but Power BI, on the other hand, it's like its mission in life is to live and breathe your data and turn it into insight. Excel is not that. I mean, it gives that impression, but it's not that. It's like a Swiss Army knife. So that's what BI meant for small businesses. But now, almost in a way, the tables have turned. The story that you heard from Label Master, they almost have an advantage. So the two things need to happen. Well, actually, maybe just one thing. So for, frankly, organization of any size, small, medium, or big, one thing needs to happen for them to succeed, to have them have this kind of success, which Manuel shared so humbly, saying that we're at the beginning, right? But a lot of companies would do anything to have success like that, what Manuel just shared. So one thing needs to happen. You need to get out of your own damn way. This is the biggest bottleneck that stops a lot of these companies. And and they do that in a lot of ways. One of my favorite, or least favorite, if you will, is oh, hold on, I wasn't sharing my screen. Is when they come to me and they say, Avi, we spent the last 2 years um, building a data warehouse. Now we're ready for Power BI. And I'm like, nope, you were ready 2 years ago. Anyway, that's just one example. But yeah, I mean, I see this time and time again. But of course, Manuel, he talked about his strategy, how he rolled it out, how he got a sponsor. They got out of their own damn way, and you see what's possible. And you saw his 2019 slide, and you'll see what's coming next. So folks, that was pretty amazing. All right, so I just wanted to kind of stay with that for a little bit. So let's go to our phones. So folks on the phone, Steve, always good to have you here, my friend. Rod, we couldn't connect yesterday, so maybe we can talk, and I'm hoping I can help you at least a little bit. And Jeff, Gansham, Gerald, if you guys have any questions, go for it. Rod, I certainly want to hear from you. I want to hear what I missed out yesterday when we were not able to connect. All right, so folks on YouTube, if you have any questions, just type that in. I'll scroll. Okay. Yeah, folks, I lose your questions in the chat box. So if you had something earlier, just type that in again, and I'll try my best to help you. Yeah, Paul is saying, Avi, you're an artist. Most artists are angry when their work isn't recognized and appreciated. Um, yeah, I mean, kind of what makes me angry is that all the years that I spent in Data Dungeon and didn't even realize. So I'm not really angry for myself, but I am angry on the behalf of all the people who are still stuck in the Data Dungeon. And of course, you've heard me talk about it. The classic signs are you're overworked and you're underappreciated. And that was consistently true almost throughout my career. I mean, you get the occasional pat on the back, bonus, whatever, promotion, this, that. But when I looked at my career graph, and again, at that time, I didn't realize it because I didn't realize what was possible. I didn't realize that the level at which I could be operating, where I could be really making an impact, not just cranking out reports. That was my life. So yeah, I feel a bit angry about the folks who are still stuck in there. Okay, cool. So hey, I'm not seeing any new questions on there. Oh, there was an earlier question by Gerald. Oh, actually, he has right now. Oh, so Manuel, if it's still on, Gerald is asking, what is the file size of your model? Interesting question. Okay, so let's see, Manuel, if he's still here, maybe you can type in. Sean is asking, hi Avi, how do you do a line chart for each region to also show a total line too? Ooh, love that one. Ooh, yay. Okay, for a second I was afraid that we might have to end this call without answering a Power BI question. Sean, always to the rescue, my friends. Now this one is interesting because this is gonna have a few different solutions. So, ooh, I already like this one. So Sean has had a pretty good track record. If you, by the way, you can get this file if you go to talkpowerbi.com. It comes with all the notes from our past calls, and we didn't used to do it. This is somewhat new, but we have started. We do these gold stars, and Sean is like a multiple recipient of this. The gold star questions are the good ones. They may be good ones to go back to if you do enjoy kind of the show. So for today though, let's go back here, and I was gonna write. So I'm gonna copy that, and let's say 1027 3. Okay, and we're gonna do line chart by region with a total line. Okay. So let's go over here. This one is really interesting. I like this one already. So we're gonna do country. We're gonna do by month. Oh, what kind of chart is it? A line chart. Yeah, for one, I will say that I'm a little bit wary of this because I'm not sure this is a good idea. Thank you, Paul. Good having you, my friend. Okay, so let's see. Axis. Oh, I did the opposite. Okay, and let's just do. Oh, budget is easy to find. Oh no, budget is not a good one. Oh shoot, what am I doing? Sorry guys. Month, year. Actually, let's make that month. And I wanted sales. So for one, I'm not sure it's a good idea to show the total on the same graph because it's gonna be wildly off. Like the scale is gonna be off, so it's gonna make these guys look small. Oh, oops, didn't want to do that. All right, so yeah, if we do a total line, so it would be really off. So I'll say I have a resistance to this. Maybe tell me, Sean, why do you think it's important? Why? Yeah, why are you looking to do it? Because let's see the total line. So if I remove this one, Europe, North America, like the axis, you see that axis is off, so 3.2 million. So this line would be, boy, this would be 3.2 million. That line, total line, would show up somewhere here, and would make this really. Actually, let's switch that. So let's see how this would look like. So it would look like as if y-axis end 3200000. Boy, yeah, it's gonna look something like this. It's gonna squish these lines at the bottom. Okay, so I'll wait for Sean to respond. But so I'm kind of questioning its business use. But maybe we can proceed just as a fun Power BI example. So if we wanted this and we needed the total, how would we do it? Still look fine. Okay, how about a table? Ooh, well, table is easier though, and I feel where you're going with this, but I'm gonna let you kind of describe it. So if we have a matrix or a table, it already has that total built in. So you can do it that way. Yeah, the total is already there. So we're gonna continue on. So of course, Sean, I want to hear from you. Like, yeah, what's the specific scenario? Does this work? Does this not work? There are some scenarios where, believe me, this is needed. And sometimes, what if? So I'm just gonna make one up. I'm sure I've encountered it where you didn't want to see, kind of Europe and Pacific, you wanted to see North America and the total, you know? Ooh. So I've talked about how it's already given implicit. Yeah. Um, very interesting. So I've talked about, folks, how modeling. So believe me, I've learned modeling from you. So if you go on my channel, let's go on my channel really quick. YouTube. There is this segment on modeling, but all right. So if you go on my channel, I'm a definite believer in modeling. I believe it's the one thing that had made the biggest difference for me in my success with Power BI, with what I've been able to do, what I was able to create internally with my company and my clients. All right, Manuel, thank you so much, my friend. So in here, if you watch the data modeling, what I talk about in there is I talk about data tables and lookup tables. By the way, full points to Manuel for for the way they had structured the table. Exactly. So this is the first thing that I look for, guys. First thing. Doesn't matter who I'm talking to. Could be a student of mine. Could be a client. They start talking. I'm like, oh, no talking. No, I don't say that. I'm nice to them. But I say, hey, do you mind starting with a relationship view? Right? They often want to talk about something else. Like, oh, we want to do this report, that report, and this report, and that report. I'm like, well, let's start with the relationship view. So I look at this. And if you're a student of mine and your model doesn't look like this, you get a failing grade. Now, of course, to be fair, some people have reported about this problem where the relationship view just resets everything. And of course, it drives me and my students nuts because we are very religious about organizing our table in a specific way. So sometimes they'll apologize. Oh, Avi, I'm really sorry. Trust me, I had it all arranged and it messed up. I don't know why I did the ducky voice, but this is the first thing that I look for. And I say, are your data tables at the bottom? Are your data tables tall? Even if they have just two columns, I don't care. They need to be tall, just as a constant reminder of what data tables should look like. Constant reminder. Every time I go into this, I want to be reminded. That's how important this stuff is, guys. And this one, doesn't matter if it has 100 columns, I'll make them short because lookup tables are short and wide, right? Maybe I should make them wide as well. Data tables are tall and well, not wide, lanky. I had some word for it. All right, so I do that, and then of course by default every relation should be kind of one to many, and so forth, right? So so modeling is important. It's crucially important, and that is what I talk about in this video. Now, what I've learned from you is that there's another level of modeling, and this stuff freaks out people who are new to Power BI. I remember we had somebody on the call last time. And they're like, "Oh, this is too much. Stop. Make it stop." And of course, I directed them to my tutorial, Power BI tutorial. Start there. And when we're not live, it actually shows up right here. So if you're a beginner and if this stuff is scaring you, guys, just be easy on yourself, right? Love yourself. Be nice to yourself. Treat yourself just the way you would treat a friend. What would you say to a friend? You would tell him, Avi, this is okay. You got it, buddy. You can do it. Just baby steps, baby steps. So yeah, so that's the baby step. But this is the other level where you have robbed me. So I know we're having a bit of conversation, but hey, Sean always sparks that in me. What can I say? So modeling, I used to think that it's about data table, lookup table, da. And it is. That's important stuff. But if you search for modeling, you have given me a different perspective. Let's see if I can find it. Ooh, yeah. So modeling is about a few things. It's about decision points. It is about assumptions. It's about scoping and rescoping constantly. And it's got a few other things that I've learned from you. There's translation in there and so forth. And I think that I'm on to 5 things now. So now I understand modeling thanks to you at a different level. So anyway, so what the long story was only to get you to the point where I am at one of the features in modeling, which is a decision point. And this is a big one. This is a classic one. This you're going to encounter again and again, many times throughout your job as a Power BI modeler, author, developer. Now, of course, what I say is that shouldn't be your title. Your title should be a business title, but you're doing that with the strength of Power BI. So this one is a classic one, which is query editor versus a DAX, right? It's a classic one, and usually this has a very simple answer. So query editor is the kitchen of Power BI. That's where you do kitcheny stuff, clean, shape, transform data. You don't do any math over there. That's what DAX is for. That's where you do the math. So usually it's easy, but I love the cases where it's not that clear and it's not right or wrong. It's about that decision. So again, modeling in one sense is about decision points. So if we go back to here, wow. So yeah, so I'm loving this. So if we go back here, so Sean, I read your note, and I wasn't that much off. So let's do this in a table. And often, folks, when I'm building measures, I do that in the table, and I paused because every time I say do, of course that means well, poop, and that cracks up my kids. Like, oh, well, at least when they were younger. Now they're a bit older, but like, oh, you said do. Anyway, so let's come back here. So this, I believe, is a legitimate scenario. I have encountered this as well, but I'm still at the decision point as well. I'm not really sure whether this is a good idea to solve it in the query editor versus DAX. Maybe we'll do both. So this can certainly be solved in the query editor. So actually, the question here is not query editor versus DAX. There's a bigger question here first, which is static versus dynamic. Now, let's go with static. So for static solutions, there are two ways to build it. You can build it in a query editor, and other you can do it with a DAX table. Guys, don't use this. I mean, in general, 99.99% of you shouldn't be using this. I see a lot of fancy examples out there. It's usually a bad idea. For one, because it's static. So what does static mean? Well, so in Power BI, by default, every single thing is dynamic. Right? Once I put my sales and budget, I can slice and dice the heck out of it. Right? I can say, show me, I want to drill down in accessories, and I want to see bike racks, and you notice everything filters down to bike racks. Now this, if you do things right in Power BI, if you follow my modeling practices, you get it for free, which is insane. It's just insane. It just boggles my mind every single time. It's like, whoa, really? I don't have to do anything? Yeah, you don't have to do anything. The slice and dice, you get it for free. That is dynamic reporting. And by default, it's always dynamic. Again, if you set it up right. But sometimes people are trying to solve, they're too focused on the solution. Like, oh, I just want to get this. And of course, that's where I warn, build models, not reports. But what they do is they solve it in the query editor. So they would, whatever the solution Sean was looking for, they would create this in the query editor. Actually, I'm not going to do that because I hating that idea right now. But you could do that. You could do that, and of course, you could if you really love pain, you could do that in DAX, and you're gonna feel super smart and like, oh, look at me, I wrote a page-long DAX measure, and that's a DAX table. But guys, I think that's just stupid. It's right. Query editor. If you're gonna do it, might as well do it in the query editor. It lets you do it step by step. It lets you document the step. It lets somebody else stepping into it later really examine it step by step what's going on. I have talked endlessly about the query editor in my tutorial, which is on YouTube. I talk about it in the course. So it's a gift. Just receive it. All right, just say thanks and say, yep, thank you, I'm going to use the query editor. So, but yeah, if you love pain, you could do it in DAX. Okay, of course, I'm just trying to be a little bit funny, but yeah, I think people do overdo this part of it. So you could do this static, and I'm not going to show that solution because I don't like static. I like dynamic. So if I wanted dynamic, then boy, the query editor is ruled out. That cannot do dynamic. Now DAX table isn't dynamic, but DAX measures are. So we are there. So I know, boy, actually that's interesting. So I can, that may not be 100% true. There might be other options. So I do want it dynamic. Fair enough. Let's go back and see how we can do it. So what if I just wanted to see North America and Pacific and the North America and Europe and the grand total? Let me see if Sean had a specific scenario. Tall and slender. Yep. So saying the business is they want region versus everything else. Okay, so I'm gonna start kind of simple. So we're gonna start with this guy and make it super duper easy. Oh, actually, we're gonna have so much fun with this. I'm excited. So we want to see only North America here. Let's just add a slicer. Now, of course, you can add filters many different ways. So we're gonna do region, slicer, and only do. Oops, wrong one. I don't want region. I wanted group. So group, and I say North America. So I only care about North America, but of course, I don't want, this is not useful. I want the big total here. So let's just solve it one way, and then we'll come back and see if we can solve it other ways. So I'm going to remove, so I'm going to turn off the totals first of all. So grand total, this always gets me. I always go to grand total to turn it off, but it's not there, is it? It's somewhere else, which is subtotals. Okay, maybe that makes sense. Okay, so that one is gone. So I have North America, and interesting. So let's add another measure, and I'm not really sure how it's going to show up. Maybe I'm going to remove the group from here. So I'm filtered to North America, and I'm showing the North America sales. Now, of course, you can also do something like this. You can say group, and I'm going to make that, can I make it a card? Ooh, nice. Yeah, so we know what we're looking at. So we're looking at North America, and these are the sales numbers. And often, and this can be in like a graph or something like that as well. Let's work with this a little bit. Cool, so we have that. And now we want to see the sales for the everybody, the total worldwide. Man, this is bringing back memories. So let's do, oops, wrong place. Oh gosh. All sales, let's just say worldwide. So sales worldwide, and we can say calculate sales. Oh, that's weird. That's better. Calculate sales, and we can say all. And what if we say all territories? Just go with that. Perfect. So it's going to clear all filters. And let's add that on there. Perfect. And of course we can kind of check that. If we clear the filters, then these two match. But doesn't matter if you're looking at North America, Pacific, those don't match. Now what I wouldn't do is I actually wouldn't really put them on the same graph, because you'll see what happens. If I do put them on the same graph, it's going to look like this. Yeah, so you notice it almost flattens the North America sales. It's just, and believe me, if we had somebody else like a smaller, like, oh, this is Pacific, no wonder. Yeah, Pacific North America would look decent, but Pacific gets flattened out because compared to worldwide, Pacific is a small market, so it flattens it out. So I'm not a huge fan of this. What I do like is this, what we're gonna do next. So we're gonna say sales, and we're gonna go back here, and you know me, I love building in Lego blocks, so I'm gonna play with my Lego blocks. That's what DAX measures are, just Lego blocks. Okay, I messed up. And we're gonna go here and we'll say percentage. It's not happy with me. Okay, there we go. Oh boy, it keeps disappearing. Why is that? Hold on, guys. Okay, maybe I'm clicking it to one too many times. Oh gosh. Okay, finally. So let's, what are we gonna call it? Percentage of worldwide sales, and I'm just gonna do this divided by that. So I'm gonna say take the sales and divide it by worldwide sales, and put that as a percentage. Now I realize I put it in the wrong table. That's okay. And so this one is a percentage, and let's make it 1 decimal. Let's try that. Or maybe 0 decimals. Let's go with that. And I'll add that to my table. Oh, nope, that didn't work. All right, cool. And I can do a different graph here. Oh, so this is Pacific. That's great. And I can have this graph, and I'm still debating what is the, do we need a line chart or a column bar chart? Have you ever thought about that? What's the difference? When would you choose a column chart versus line chart? I cover that inside my course, my friends. All right. So visualization, in our course, we have 6 modules. One on, so I focus on the core concepts, we focus on the query editor, relationships, DAX, and then we do cover visualization, but I approach it from kind of a best practices perspective. And it's like, when would you use what? Yeah, just to give you those guidelines. Yeah, Stephen Few fan. All right, so in here, let's change that and change this to percentage of worldwide sales. Oh, wow. This is incredible. Wow, this is better than I thought. Now, of course, because usually AdventureWorks is garbage data. There's like no insights to be found. It's incredibly frustrating. Let's just change this color so I can differentiate. And I'm still thinking about whether this should be column bar chart. By the way, the answer to that is what Stephen Few teaches us is that if you want to kind of focus on the individual values, right? It's like, where is this? Oh, this is. Then you do a column on a bar chart, and then of course there's other discussion of when to use column, when to use bar. I wouldn't go into that right now, but so the general rule is that if you want to focus on individual values, like, oh yeah, this month was this value, then you use column or bar chart. If you want to focus on the trend, then use line chart. And of course, now that I've said it, it's you can see it, right? I mean, the line, it's really about the shape, about where things are going. Line is not about the individual values as such. Now, of course, can you look at and determine individual values? Of course you can, but that's not the intent. So that's the question you need to ask. Do I want people to focus on the individual values, that April was, close to 40%, something like that? April was the highest, or I want to show them the trend, and you can see it already that the trend isn't quite as apparent, as beautifully shown in. I always confuse column and bar. This one is column, right? Column, yes. So it is not shown as beautifully in the line. That's the first thing you notice, whether you realize it or not. So all right, so let's change this back to a line chart, and I wanted to have it be a different color. So we're there, and let's zero in on that. And this is where this becomes like unbelievably incredible. So if you're looking at your data one-dimensionally, and that's where companies start, and that's not a bad place to start. In fact, that's a highly recommended place to start. The first measures you write in any model and you put in any visualization should be one of these two: sum or count rows. Yes, my friend. So when people start complaining about Power BI is hard, man, I can do stuff just with two measures, just sum of a column, count rows, and build dashboards, which often, or at least anybody who's starting out in Power BI, I know I can blow them away. I can blow them away because, again, you get the magic of Power BI, which is define once, use everywhere. So you take the sum of sales, but then you show it by customer, by product, by territories. And of course, you can cross-analyze it. They can click on it. It's like, this territory is really high. Why is it high? Let me click that. Oh, they're high because these customers are buying, right? So there's so much insight there. So this is a great place to start. In fact, this should be the only place you start with sum and count rows. But if you stay there, you're going to find that it's one-dimensional, where it doesn't give you the real story sometimes. So if somebody was looking at Pacific and just looking at sales growth, what would they say? They would say, oh, things are looking great, right? But, well, now that you have this other thing, like percentage worldwide sales, is not the same story. It's like, no, they're not doing good. I mean, compared to the worldwide, clearly they're kind of losing their standing, because even though they're growing, I can tell by this graph, because they're declining here, that they're not growing at the pace of the rest of the company. And of course, we can fancify this. How about we add like an average line? Let's see that. Ooh, cool. Ooh, I like this one. And while I'm there, that's not what I expected. Wait, maybe that's not what I want. Okay, of course, average line is also going to be flat. I guess I'm looking for a trend line. I'm not seeing it here because of the axis. Okay, I know what's wrong. I wouldn't solve it now, but you can add a trend line. You just need a continuous axis. Okay, but imagine if you could do that, and you can. This would be like an upward. This would be kind of downward. So this is giving you a lot more information. So cool. So let me check in with Sean. So hopefully that kind of helped. That's one scenario. You can say, show me for this region, Pacific, whichever one is selected, and show me the total. And then, of course, that gives you a lot more visibility and so forth. So, hey, guys, we're going to end it here today. I do have to prep for something else. I know it always, whenever we're like not 3 hours long, it always feels short to me. But I'm going to leave you with the thought that what if we wanted to do this? So let's see. Let me grab this guy. And let me grab this one. So I'm gonna leave you with this teaser, if you will. Well, so Sean, this is dynamic in one way. What happened? Oh, this always gets me sync. This does respond to every single thing. So if you go April, now everything is filtered to April, right? So it is completely dynamic. What is not dynamic, and of course you can say, show me kind of North America, So you whatever you peg, so like, hey, I want to see North America and so forth. You can see that, and you can see others. Now, of course, let's change this to a multi-row card. There we go. Now, what if you select multiple? So I'm not going to solve that now, guys. And having worldwide in the slicer. Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, guys. So today, yeah, I'm going to have to apologize. I gotta prep for another meeting. But what if we had? So Sean has an interesting one. But what if we had multiple entities? What's going on with this guy? Oh, what if we selected North America Pacific? And let's go back over here. What if in here, let's reduce all of that. And in here, let's change it. This is a matrix. And we said group. What if we wanted to do this? We want to show North America, Pacific, and the total. Right, so that's one puzzle. And of course, we wanted this to be kind of dynamically selected, which I think is maybe pretty close to what Sean is asking. I mean, I think you could solve them kind of separately. So what if I want to be able to select whichever ones? Like sometimes I'm showing Europe and North America, sometimes I'm showing Europe and Pacific, and maybe there are more. There may be 10 of these entries, and I want to be able to select them dynamically. And always, doesn't matter what I select, I want those two to be shown, or the selected ones to be shown, and the worldwide total. Right? Ooh, that one is really interesting. And I think I have a feeling that what Sean is saying that is the same problem. So he wants to have a total in here. Now, so I will give you a clue, which is so how to show slicer in total in slicer. So folks, the answer is a disconnected slicer. Okay, so you would find a lot of material on that. Now, of course, if you're a student in that's covered in my course, so you can kind of get my tutorial on it. But otherwise, this is a really common, perhaps the most common kind of DAX or Power BI technique that's used. So you will find a lot of material on this, and that is a solution for that. All this slicer, yes. So yeah, the key here is creating a disconnected slicer. All right, folks. I almost don't want to end this, but yeah, I gotta go. We'll catch you next week. So next week, folks, we're gonna hear some amazing stories, and I hope the men show up. It's certainly not an episode just for women. And what I'll say is that. Amongst my students, it's interesting. So, of course, the reason why we're doing this episode is because one day we realized that, so when we crossed 500 students, we just kind of did an inventory to try to understand that who are we serving. And just, we just kind of roughly just based on the name, we try to see that, hey, how many are women, how many are men? Now, of course, we realize that's not accurate. But even with very optimistic assumptions, optimistic estimates, it was still less than 20%. Now, that was a bit of a shock. I didn't expect that. Of course, now it feels naive, but I was expecting 50-50 because in my mind, I mean, it presents the same opportunity for everybody, regardless of the gender. Now, of course, I realized that I was being naive because when I encountered that and then I started researching, and of course, it's been in the media, so it's yeah. So in tech, I think that when you look at graduation rates and so forth, it's low. It's 19%, and unfortunately, it has dropped. It used to be, I think, close to 40%. I think it was like 37% back in the 1980s. I think 1984 was the high point, and it has steadily declined since then. So clearly, not trending in the right direction. Now, of course, I could have just sat there and said, yep, well, if 19% is a graduation rate amongst tech for women, then if I have 20% students, that's about right. But it's not. It's one of those things to hear about these statistics and numbers happening in the outside world, but there's another thing to be happening kind of to you. I mean, you hear about all this stuff in the news, and it's always this other world. But then when it happens to you, I'm like, oh my god, right? So then you stand up, and so and of course, I have a daughter and a son, and for both of their sakes, I felt like if there's something I can do to, I don't know, to make 1% an impact just in my world. Power BI is my world. Why not? So and ironically, so I talked about how in my course only about 20% women, less than 20% are women, but they're they have been so inspirational for my journey. So a lot of you know we're actually six figures. Gosh, if I can find it. I can't find it right now. I sent an email. So we beginning of this year we started a program which was titled Six Figures Power BI Professional, and that's a beta. It's still going on, but of course you've met some of those folks already in the real Power BI presentation, and I'm stunned by some of their successes. Now, of course, we could, there's a lot of stuff we learned from doing this beta. These guys were guinea pigs. So next time we're planning, hey, how do we run this again? And the vision in my mind is to can we create almost a factory to create these Power BI superheroes? Right? And of course, factory is not the right word because they're all unique. They're all going to be like amazing superheroes in their own domains. So we have Cheryl, who focuses on construction in New York. There's Matt Jones, who focuses on MYOB. But right, so can I create that, and then basically, so folks, I didn't quite realize it, but the way the program has evolved into is that it's not a training program anymore, because I want to create these professionals. So we have the course, and excuse my drawing skills. So this is our Learn Power BI course, right? And then we also have what we call the pro level, which is for advanced level of support. And now maybe I should have drawn this as a pyramid. Well, yeah, okay, cool. So this is basically become an incubator program, which I think I'm happy about because it lets me help people at a deeper level. So we have the Learn Power BI course, and then what we have is a pro level, which basically is the next step in this journey. And this has advanced content and advanced support. But then this is the beta, which we call the Pro Plus, and formal title is Six Figures Power BI Professional. And yeah, so we've been having a lot of good success with it. By the way, this is opening. It's coming soon. So I sent an email about it. Go sign up the waitlist if you're interested in the program. And of course, this is our newest thing, and we wanna set up basically a site to be the matchmaker amongst businesses who are looking for good Power BI talent. And boy, we have the talent up the wazoo. We have amazing students all over the world inside a program. So PowerBITalent.com, you may be the first guys kind of hearing it publicly. So we're gonna do the matchmaker. So yeah, that's the vision. But what's incredible is it's inspired by two women. Really, I'm not kidding. And you would find them on my channel. So if you go look through, I think it's under like success stories. So the two women are Justina Bucks and Pam Baker, and they're almost single-handedly responsible for this, for the Pro Plus, everything, right? So if you look to, oh yeah, there we go. So Pam Baker's right here, How to Become a Power BI World Leader. She has an incredible story. She, by the way, taught a masterclass with the folks who are in the Talk Power BI Insiders Club, who were invited as well. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Man, I was really amazed by how generous she was in kind of sharing her knowledge. So Pam Baker is here, and actually one of the first interviews was Justina Bucks. So when I was creating this program, this Pro Plus, the line in my head was simple. How can I create more Justina and Pams, because these women have had incredible, mind-boggling success. And I just wanted to see that how can I processize that, template that, right? Templatize. I don't know if there's a word. Well, we made them up. Right? How can I do that as kind of a thing that I can? Yep. If you do these 5 things, you're gonna achieve this incredible success. And getting really close. I'll admit we haven't mastered it because the level of success amongst the different students has been varied. Some have had tremendous success, like Noah Basket. He's already like running his BI organization, wisebi.co. Go check it out. Right, so he has already clients lined up, and he's looking for more clients. So that's incredible. Some haven't. So we're still trying to kind of master that. But again, this vision was given to me by Justina and Pam, both women. Isn't that ironic? So even though they're less than 20%, but clearly, they have inspired me. So long story short, I would like all of you to be there next week, because I think you're going to be inspired. Regardless of who you are, what situation you're in, I think you're going to be inspired by the stories you hear, by the conversation in there. All right, cool. So let's end it at that. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. All right, power on.